Hello everybody, welcome to Nerd Lab. My name is Brian and today we're doing a deck tech on Cynette Jellyfish. This is an excellent deck for beginning players, but it's still fun for people more advanced. But if you have friends that are just now getting into Magic or have just gotten into Magic, please send them the link to this video. But before we go any further, don't forget we still have the Dominaria Remastered Booster Box giveaway. All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and put nerd, N-E-R-D nerd, into the comments down below. But without further ado, Cynette Jellyfish is a 4-mana mono blue human wizard that reads, whenever Cynette Jellyfish enters or dies, create a 1/1 blue jellyfish creature token with flying. She also says creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. Ultimately, this is a clone deck. We want to make lots of Cynettes, which makes lots of jellyfish and gives them +1/+1 multiple times. So we're going wide, we're going big, and we're swinging hard. The only bad thing about Cynette is she is 4 mana in mono blue, and we have to have her out before we really do anything else. So the first thing we got to get into is ramp. She's 4 mana, and we want to get her out by turn 3. So we got to run every 2 mana rock we can find. Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, heck, Sky Diamond. A really good 2 mana artifact is Sapphire Medallion. The only thing better than producing mana is reducing mana. But as far as mana rocks go, Ebony Fly is really a hidden gem in this deck. It helps you get your commander out early, but even in the late game, for 4 mana you can turn it into a flyer. Your commander is going to buff it, but it's also going to let your commander attack with flying as well. That can definitely come into play with some of the cards in this deck. That's our early game ramp. The best piece in our late game ramp is 3 Tree City. Later on in the game, this is going to end up tapping for 10 to 20 mana, and it's really going to enable us to cast some really big, really fun spells. But the only way we're getting to those spells is through card draw. Now we're in mono blue, so we have your typical Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study EDH staples. We're also doing Kindred, so something like Distant Melody can get you a few cards in a jam. But the way we're really drawing a ton of cards in this deck is by turning jellies sideways. We're taking advantage of having these buffed up flyers by casting cards like Coastal Piracy, Bident of Thassa, and the Indomitable. They each read whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Some of them say you do draw a card, and you want to be careful with that because you can end up drawing your entire deck. In most of my playthroughs, I ended up drawing at least half of my deck by turn 7 or turn 8. But what are we going to do with all these cards? Let's talk about our synergy. Like I said before, we are a clone deck. So for our first card, let's talk about Clone. You may have Clone enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. So what you want to do is have Clone come in as a copy of your commander. But with the legendary rule, you're going to have to sacrifice that clone right away. But you'll get the ETB that gives you a jellyfish and the death trigger that gives you another jellyfish. 4 mana for 2 1/1 flyers typically isn't great. But in this deck, it's not bad. But that's why we also run cards like Flesh Duplicate. That's 2 mana for the same effect. We also run Glasspool Mimic. It's 3 mana for the same effect, or if we need a land, we can flip it and play it as an island. We have a bunch of spells in this deck that do the same effect for 2, 3, and 4 mana. And that's fine for early on, but to really break it, let's talk about our win con. Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, Spark Double, and Quantum Misalignment. Now we're making all those tokens non-legendary. So all those clone effects from earlier don't have to be sacrificed. They're staying on the field, which means all of your flyers are getting +1/+1 for each clone of Cynette you have. We can easily end up with around 10 Cynettes on the battlefield, which makes all of our 1/1s 11/11s, and then we hit them with our big boy, Clone Legion. For each creature target player controls, create a token that's a copy of that creature. What's amazing about this card, if someone else has a better board than you, better flyers than you can copy their board. But if not, you copy your own, and now all your 10/10s or 20/20s, and you swing in for the win. And shock your opponents with your big old jellyfish. Make lots of creatures, deal lots of damage, draw lots of cards. Mono blue has never felt so much like mono red, but with value. So that's Cynette, Jelly Drover. I hope you liked the video. Please like, subscribe, and comment nerd in the comments down below. N-E-R-D, nerd. And until next time, embrace the chaos.